Aloha, what's up everyone? Welcome to Truth and Music. We did one episode of this before, but I can't help it. The more I watch music videos, the more I'm just compelled to talk about these things that I'm seeing in the music videos. I believe personally that the entertainment industry is disclosing esoteric truths, forgotten truths, the secrets of the world, so to speak, to us all the time, and it's up to us to take it as mindless entertainment or as the disclosure that it clearly and obviously is. We're going to start with Imagine Dragons today. Like every music video that they have, I could break down easily, but this one is probably the most obvious. This one's the most in your face of any of their songs I've ever seen. We're going to talk about Stanley Kubrick. We're going to talk about the moon landing. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff here. The Beatles, like it's going to get deep. What's up, everybody? Hey, thank you so much, everyone in the live chat. High five. Thanks for holding on and waiting for me. I was a little bit late today, you know, taking care of my son and doing dad stuff, but I'm here now. Let's jump right into the presentation. So I'm going to be moving some pictures around. We start off. Now, check this out. Hold on. Before I say this, keep in mind that the tone, the melody, the beat of the music takes away from the message that they're actually sharing with you. Most people have no idea what these songs are about. They will all, across the world, they will internalize the message. They will internalize what the song is actually about. If you ask people, especially people that are singing along, hey, what's the song about? Well, it's about like, you know, and they stumble through it. Watch the video and you will see exactly what it's about. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what it's about too. So we started things off. We've got a kid on a tricycle. Okay, all of us are basically kids compared to how long we used to live for, which was hundreds of years. Lifespans are all shortening and shortening until the plasma apocalypse returns, and then the lifespans will be lengthened once more. But he's also wearing a tinfoil hat. The music video will make it look like he's pretending to be an astronaut, because this whole video is about the moon landing, the very first moon landing, and how they faked it. So they're trying to make you think that, oh, it's not a tinfoil hat as in a conspiracy theorist, it's a tinfoil hat as in he's trying to look like a spaceman or something. It's not. It's definitely a nod to us conspiracy theorists around the world, who are right, by the way, when it comes to this particular topic, at least. All right, cool. Oh, Emma says, I believe that you already broke down this song. I broke down the Imagine Dragons. I did a whole thing on it. But that video was demonetized and blocked, and I had to jump through all kinds of hoops. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and proceed with breaking the song down again. I can't remember if I actually broke this song down or not. But I think I did in the past. I think you might be right. But it's besides the point. Let's go ahead and continue forward with the presentation. All right, so we zoom in on this kid wearing the tinfoil hat. Now, if you take a look at the back of his little tricycle here, let's see. I'm going to zoom in on the back of his little tricycle. He's got a sticker at the very bottom down here. You see that? Now, I'm going to show you what it says in just a minute. It'll be more clear, but you can clearly see the all-seeing eye, right, as the sticker. And then it says Snow Guard on the back. I'll explain that in a minute. So he pulls up on these people who are all watching the first moon landing ever. They're gathered in front of this electronics store where they had these old school televisions and stuff. And you can see his little tinfoil hat right back here in the background. But look at the name of the electronics store. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says Stan and Brick. Can you guys see that? Hold on, how do I zoom in on that? I'm used to doing truth in movies and moving it around. All right, so you see Stan right there and Brick. So that's a shout out to Stanley Kubrick, right? Stanley Kubrick, this guy right here, he's a movie producer or director or some such whatever. He makes movies, right? He's made every single one of his movies is the same thing I'm sharing with you now. Okay, just like we do truth in movies, they disclose the truth to you. They're not hiding it in plain sight. They're not hiding it in order to like laugh at all of you. I've heard that theory many times where people are saying, well, they're just laughing at us. They put the truth out there and then they laugh and they think it's funny. It's a joke. It's not a joke. It's not funny. It's mandatory. This is the truth being shared to you, whether or not it's from somebody that knows or from somebody that's just intuitively picking up on ancient truths and the reality of the world that we live in. Regardless, it's being shared with us. So it would be wise of us to pay attention to what is being shared. So these are all Stanley Kubrick movies. I could easily break down every single one of these movies because they're all deep and they all share as much breadcrumbs of truth as this music video does. Now, here's the kid. I'm going to scooch it over so you can see what it says on his shirt. This is important. It says snow. This part's hard to read, but it says guard, G-A-R-D. Let's break that down. First and foremost, snow, just like, you know, the stuff that falls down from the sky, frozen water or whatever, right? Snow. So a place that's cold. And then the word guard, G-A-R-D. Now, it's twofold. The word guard means garden in some languages, like kindergarten, right? It means garden. But it also means to protect. So a protected area where there's snow and has a relationship to a garden, which is always the Garden of Eden, right? However, if you read it backwards, snow guard spells dragons, which is also, there's also a connection, which is the plasma that comes down from the sky that people see as fire dragons and fireworms and stuff too, right? So, snow guard. There's a reference to the North Pole up there. And Antarctica as well. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, they're all looking at the television. They're watching the moon landing, just as they did back in 69 or whatever the year was, forever ago. Too long ago that they haven't been back. Okay, so I'm not gonna get on the moon landing a lot. I'm pretty sure every single one of you knows the moon landing was fake. There is no moon. They didn't land on any moon. Okay, there is a projection in the sky, a luminary, a light that we call the moon. We're being tricked into thinking that that's a rock and that it's floating up there just right above us. It's not. The name of the television, if we take a look, the brand of the TV here is Monolith. So if we zoom on this bad boy at the bottom, you can see they purposefully chose to add the word monolith, right? Which means like single rock or one rock. This is a shout out and a reference to Rupus Nigra, right? The rock of the world, at the center of the world. So now we get to the main singer. In the background, you can see they chose this pattern purposefully. So people who have not seen The Shining will probably have no idea, and it's just, you know, some 70s looking design or whatever. But it's a pattern that they use on the floor, on the carpet in the movie The Shining, right? The symbolism to it is simply the tiles, okay? All these tiles stuck together. Sometimes it's a hexagon, sometimes it's an octagon, sometimes it's a pentagon or a pentagram or whatever. Regardless, it's the tiles that are being stuck together in this formation because Rupus Nigra, the mountain that we just mentioned, that is at the center of the world and is pictured on many, many different maps throughout the Middle Ages at the very least, that is a plasma volcano, and its structure looks like basalt columns. So the same thing that you would see if you went to the Devil's Tower, how it looks like these tiles that just shoot straight up out of the ground. And modern academics will try to tell you that it's cooled off lava for some reason in perfect hexagons, but it's not, okay? It's the same thing you would see if you went to the Giant's Causeway as well, right? These tiles that pull up out of the ground, and when you walk on top of them, they look just like this, like a tiled carpet. which is how it's portrayed in the movie. Now, this car takes off. The lead singer gets in. He's on his way to the set. And in the background, you can see the address that they purposefully chose for this shot, 2001. This is a shout out to Stanley Kubrick's movie, 2001, A Space Odyssey, which also has a monolith in it. And it also is features technology that is out of control. The eye glows red, and the technology takes control of itself. Okay, which is also something that I talk about here on my channel, which is going to happen one day. Our technology will be in control of itself one day. We will not be in control of it, and it will seemingly turn against us, just as it does in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Next thing we see here is a bunch of hippies, this little bohemian gathering, and they're all chilling and stuff, and looks like they're living out of their bus, which I support. I think that's cool. People that live off of the land and whatnot. These people are going to come into play a little later, so remember them. Now, this guy gets into his VW Bug, his yellow VW Bug, and he's about to take off. But they show you on the back of it, there's a sticker, like a bumper sticker, but it's on the side of the car. Let's read that. Ragged Insomnia. This is interesting because this is a shout out to a couple of different things. One, it's an anagram for the band's name, which is Imagine Dragons. But in addition, there is a time whenever our world is electromagnetically amplified or energetically amplified. When that happens and the atmosphere is energetically amplified, people develop a type of insomnia. You cannot sleep. Your body does not need sleep. So people that transition from this world to the next world, and you're used to doing things like eating 3 times a day and sleeping for 8 hours and stuff, you'll feel a little strange at first because you'll feel like you should be sleeping. And you might even worry like, oh my God, what will happen to me if I don't get my sleep? Nothing. Because your body's amplified energetically. You don't need sleep. And people during these times needed less sleep. They ate less. They didn't need to go to the bathroom. They didn't need toilets to go number 2 or whatever because they didn't eat. Their body didn't require stealing energy from something else to reproduce it in the body and use it. Okay, the body was already energetically amplified. Next, we go to another band member's house. Let's take a look at some of these decorations, aka props, in the music video. Excuse me. Now, first and foremost, at the center, we have one of the Beatles. You see that? One of the Beatles right here in the center of the picture. And right next to that, a gun, a pistol, that happens to be pointing at the Beatles band member's head. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this conspiracy theory, it says that one of the Beatles was killed and that he was replaced with basically a clone, an exact replica of him, or somebody that looks similar to him, right? Who was the Beatle? Damn, my mind just went blank. Hold on. Which Beatle died? Boom. It was... No, not John Lennon. Oh yeah, so he's still alive, I guess. It's Paul McCartney, right? Paul McCartney. But he was, it's clear. Okay, I don't have all the rabbit holes to go down on this, but if you're unfamiliar with this conspiracy theory, Paul McCartney died. He was killed. And the band members, at least the band members, left hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clues, straight up saying that he was killed on their album covers, hidden in their song lyrics, all over the place. Everyone that's in that circle knows for a fact that Paul McCartney was replaced by a man named Billy Shears. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty important. Anyways, then we've got a picture of Jesus over here, who also was sacrificed or murdered for the sins of the world, etc. And we've got this eagle up top. So you'll see these spread eagles in symbolism all the time, right? With its head facing one way or another. Oftentimes this is not an actual bird. It doesn't represent any bird. Many birds can't even pose like that. So it's symbolic, okay? This is the bird of creation. This is the beam of light that shoots up and spreads out into auroras in the upper atmosphere. And we have the eagle, the phoenix, the thunderbird, you know, all these different birds and stuff. Now, over here in the corner, we've got a picture of an owl and a peacock, actually, right underneath that. You see that? So the owl is what people see in the sky. The middle part is that beam of energy that shoots up from the center of the world, and it creates this toroidal field around it, which gives us these circles. So people will look at that. Sometimes they see one figure, sometimes they see another figure. Oftentimes people saw the owl, and it represented wisdom, because if you go to the place where the great owl lives, it will impart wisdom to you, because you're now entering into Eden and Hyperborea, and your synapses are going to fire off. Your whole brain is going to be at capacity and being, you know, used the way it's supposed to be. All right, so then one of the band members steps in front of the picture, and now the gun is pointing at him. So he now symbolically represents Paul McCartney, the original Paul McCartney. I also believe that Paul McCartney, the original one, they traded him out. Now, personally, I believe that there's underground cloning facilities in many parts of the world where they actually clone human beings, and they've been doing it for a very long time. I can't prove it or whatever, but a lot of my breadcrumbs lead to underground cloning facilities where they just have copies of people up here on the surface. All they need is to collect DNA. Anyways, let's zoom in on this one, get a little more context for the props that we're seeing. They chose all of these props specifically. Right above his head, you can clearly see, we went over this last presentation, the delta, which means what? Doorway, right? Means an opening. With this sun figure in the middle of it. This is the apex dome at the top of the firmament, as I've discussed many different times. And then over here on the corner, you can see they have this little shield symbol with the square and compass. So Freemasonry right there, right? So these are all props. This is not somebody's house or anything. Okay, this is all studio, it's all props. They purposefully are putting it there because it's building context for the message that they're trying to share with you. We also have twins, right? You're going to see a lot of twin symbolism in Kubrick's The Shining. There was the two twin ghost girls or whatever. And oftentimes, you know, they'll be really pasty, pale-skinned, red-headed type people. That's because those people are related to the nobility that now pretty much rules most of the world. Okay, this is what they tend to look like. But the twin symbolism also represents the anode and the cathode on either side of Mount Meru, which are two individual lights or beams that act as witnesses to the central beam or pillar or column. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, there's the globe. So here's the globe world, right? So they're showing you all these secrets and stuff, and then they throw this globe up on top of this bookshelf. You see that? Now pay attention, because there's another music video that straight up tells you that this is garbage. And it's the Eurythmics. You know that song that's like, sweet dreams are made of these? She points right at the globe. She says, sweet dreams are made of this. And like, that's what the whole video is about. Basically that they're making it up as they go. Now this whole music video is very trendy. It's very catchy. It's like whistling at the beginning. And there's like this really upbeat sound and stuff. And it just sounds like an uplifting, upbeat song or whatever. It contrasts. It's contradictory to the actual message that's being shown, which is everyone has been lied to. Reality is not what you think. The government is not to be trusted, etc. Isn't that amazing that they would do that? Why do you suppose they would do that? Why would they put this upbeat, catchy, uplifting, trendy type, you know, melody to a song that is, you know, really just dropping some truth bombs on us, right? Let's take a look at this guy's patch. So he's representing the red, white, and blue, and he's got this patch on that says Snow Guard. As you can see backwards, it says dragons. It's got the all-seeing eye. It's got the two stars on either side, which would be reflected off of the apex dome when all of these geoplasmas from the earth erupt and they light up the firmament. So you'll see the stars up there, which are actually reflecting the earthly lights that are appearing across the world below. Let's see. All right, let's continue on. Okay, so now they show this little scene where the motorcycle guy is driving down the freeway, and he will pass this sign that says Route 237, Scenic Overlook, pointing up here to the sky, right? Pointing right up to the sky. Now, you also see these tires are red, white, and blue. This is also red, white, and blue for like barber poles. The North Pole sometimes is red, white, and blue. You know, sometimes if they put a pole on the South Pole or whatever. It's barber colors. There's different reasons for that as well. It's also what the star Sirius flashes. If you look at the star Sirius at nighttime, it will flash red, white, and blue, which is pretty amazing to me. But they say the moon is 237,000 miles away, right? This is a reference to room number 237 in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. The scenic overlook is symbolic for the top of the world, which is, it's twofold, okay? One is the scenic overlook, which is at the mountain at the North Pole, which I believe is the same mountain that the devil took Jesus up to, this high and lofty mountain, so he could see all of the world, up on top of Mount Meru. So that's the scenic overlook. The other scenic overlook is the actual top of the firmament, where the dome goes upward and then it bows inward at the top, which is what I call the apex dome, which is just the moon, basically. It's the physical substance behind the projection that we call the moon. All right, so then we go back to the television that all these people are watching, and you can see clearly that they're sporting this all-seeing eye. They just flashed this too. This was hard for me to catch. This is so quick, it's almost subliminal, right? They do this all the time with these different types of things in these music videos. They'll just straight up use subliminal messages, but they flash this whoosh, super quick, the all-seeing eye, and then it says snow guard underneath it, right? And it says monolith on the TV underneath that, as we covered. Now the band members, they are going to emulate the Beatles. They're going to do the classic walking across the street thing. Now, let me jump out of the way. I want to show this. I want to show you this whole picture here. There we go. All right, cool. Now, here's the whole picture. Here's the whole band, right? Pay attention. Now, what you'll see, what you'll notice, there's a couple of clues hidden in here. Let's move on to the next picture here. Okay? Actually, before I go there, let's zoom in on this car. You see how there's two cars in the picture? Let's look at the white one. First of all, I don't know what kind of car that is, but look at the license plate, MBY967P. It's kind of gibberish, right? But as they walk past it, that license plate changes. Now let's zoom in on it after he walks past it, and let's see what it says now. It says, Ben is dead. Who's Ben, you might ask? Ben is this guy. The guy who we said earlier represents Paul, or Paul McCartney, right? He's even like not wearing shoes. You know, there's all these different clues that, like I said, the Beatles dropped, telling you that Paul was no longer alive and he's been replaced. And then, of course, they have the yellow bug back here. Let's look at that license plate while we're at it. Hold on, I'll show you in a second. Now, if we zoom in on the yellow bug's license plate, we might not think we found anything at first. It just says V1I707. Okay, whatever. But if you flip that upside down, it spells Lolita. Or one can infer that that's what that says, basically. I'm telling you right now, that's what that says. It says Lolita, which was also a Stanley Kubrick movie and a concept that the bad guys are into. I don't get into that topic too much, but you know, it gives me the heebie-jeebies and makes me mad, so I don't like to talk about it too much. But it has to do with underage people, okay? So they walk past exactly like in their iconic picture where the Beatles are all walking across, what is it called? Downtown Abbey or something like that. They even have a white Volkswagen Beetle in the background. Over here, you can see Paul there with his shoes off, right? So they're clearly copying the Beatles. They're clearly copying Stanley Kubrick, and they're trying to make connections. Now, if you've never seen this before, over here we've got Paul McCartney when he was young, and then over here we've got William Shears Campbell, aka Billy Shears. Now, you can do your own rabbit hole on this. I have. It's a very fun conspiracy. It's, you know, if you want to practice or whatever. These were the conspiracies of yesteryear, okay? So if you're older, this might not sound like brand new to you. If you're younger, you probably never even heard of this. But it's pretty important. Why? Because they can replace anybody. If my theory is true, that they're just cloning people, yeah, they clone them, they raise them underground, in some instances to be exactly like the people who they're going to replace above ground. In other instances, they raise them to have certain jobs, like being witnesses at traumatic events. So they're raised to like think that they're doing some kind of a justice by coming up here, showing up at different, traumatic, what do you call it? Shootings and explosions and stuff like that, and they'll be the witness. That's their job. You know what I mean? And then they'll show you this camera. This camera lights up. They're walking right past the security camera. It says 0009 LAH, which backwards is just HAL 9000, which was the robot, the artificial intelligence that had a life of its own in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Cat Van Dew says, Jay showing how young he is. Anyone born in the 70s or earlier absolutely know everything there is to know about the Beatles. Well, I was also born in the 70s, just so you know. Maybe the tail end of it, but still. All right, so here's the band members coming in. You can see that they're supposed to be going to a set. This is Imagine Dragons, allegedly, right? But instead of the set, it's like some protected government building with this like Men in Black style guy who's sort of guarding the entrance. You've got this triangle. What does that say? I don't know if I can read this triangle. Oh, restricted area. So you got this triangle, which is a door, that says restricted area on the door. So they're going through a doorway that's restricted. They also show you the monochrome, one color, which is all green and black, right? That's sort of a shout out to when the world was just one color, okay? There was a time just after the beginning when the world had one color, and then it started changing, and we started getting more colors and more colors and more colors, but essentially the world was black and white to start off. All right, so they go into this building. You can see that's got gates. It's got this military vehicle, Jeep looking deal behind it. It's a protected area. It's a secure area. It's a restricted area. And then they put on their astronaut gear, right? At this point in the video, if you've never seen this video before, you have no idea that these are the band members going to rehearse. You might think that it's just actual astronauts, but it's not. We know this because we've seen this music video a million times. And then they show you them, triumphantly walking like the heroes that they are, always portraying these people as like heroes. They're not. They're just travelers. They go up a couple miles. That's it. They float around. They do backflips. Okay. I don't know what kind of hero work they're doing, but I don't personally see any of them as heroes personally. Okay. I see people who actually save lives, and people who snap, people who act as, not people who snap. I was going to say snap others out of it, but people who act as guides and mentors and people who live righteously as heroes, you know what I mean, to me personally, but not just somebody who has a job, especially a freaking astronaut. You're not saving anybody. You're not helping anybody. You're just up there playing, in my opinion. Anyways, now we go behind the scenes, and we've got all these what look to be NASA guys who are showing the televisions where they show a moon and astronauts walking around on the moon. There we go. See that? So over here we have official astronauts. I don't know what to call these guys. NASA guys. They're looking at footage of somebody who looks like they're on the moon, an astronaut, and they're clearly working the special effects or whatever behind the scenes. Right? So up until this point, the video leads you on to believe that this is actually showing you a portrayal of the first moon landing and the actual astronauts and stuff. And they'll show you the rocket that's blasting off, says USA on the side of it. All these people are glued to the television, watching. They can't believe it. Wow, we're going to land on the moon. This is amazing. Even the hippie people, they're listening to the radio. They're looking up at the moon. They can't believe what's happening. You got some Russian guys with a monkey, you know, kind of making fun of the Russians for putting a monkey up there, I guess. But they're, you know, in Russia watching TV, like, oh, the Americans beat us to it or whatever. And there's all this drama, and that's what it is. It was a television drama. This did not happen. There was no moon landing. You can't do it. It is not a possibility. That's like landing on the light of a flashlight, okay? But they'll show you the rocket taking off and all this stuff. It was a huge production, and that's what this is sharing with us. That it's actually a production, that it's being produced. It has a producer, which is Stanley Kubrick. You know, here you can see Paul again in the background up there. Boom. What else? Anything else on this one? No, I'm gonna just keep going. Oh, here's the obligatory milk. They always have milk, especially bad guys drinking milk in movies and stuff. You see that? They're always putting milk there. Like, it's not even like they took sips out of it or anything. The milk is symbolic too, but I'll leave that one to you guys to figure out or share with one another in the chat. But they always, watch out for that. They always show you that in the movies too. Then they'll show you, what's his name? Neil deGrasse Aldrin, or whatever his stupid name was. The guy that pretended like he was getting out of a spaceship to walk on the moon. Bull crap. Okay. That the whole thing really upsets me. When they dupe the entire world so obviously, and the world falls under a great delusion, just like when the buildings came down, just like whenever they appear to be walking on the moon and crap, that really gets to me. That people would purposefully deceive an entire planet, an entire world with stuff like this. So as he's stepping down, you hear the voice of Neil Armstrong, or what you think is the voice of Neil Armstrong in the actual music video, and he goes, "That's one small step for man." Now hold on. I put up the subtitles for this because I wanted to see what they put on the subtitles. They tricked the subtitles. Check this out. You see that? Neil Armstrong. One small step for man. Let me go to the next one. Now, he says one giant leap for mankind. But they're tricking you. One giant leap for mankind. You see that? And all the people are watching. Oh my God, such a huge moment. In this music video, you need to rewind it if you think that's what they said in the music video. Okay? That is not what they said in the music video. Even the subtitles were tricked. They said, that's one false step for man. One giant deceit for mankind. I swear to God, I had to play it like 15 times when I heard that. That's what the music video says. So they're the people that make this music video, which is not the band members, Imagine Dragons or whatever. They just work for the people who actually, this trickles all the way down from the top of the pyramid. Okay. It's disclosure. They purposefully are telling you that's one false step. That didn't happen. That Neil Armstrong never stepped onto the moon. That's one false step for man. One giant deceit for mankind. And it shows all these people, right when he says one giant deceit for mankind, all these people glued to the television, glued to their programming, their programs, like robots, eager, and, you know, they can't wait to eat it up, to get their new command, their new program, you know. And they're all very concerned about what's happening way up there on the moon. Now, this one also was basically flashed so quickly, I had to like try a million times to pause it right at the right moment. But the TV quickly flashes the Illuminati eye, right, which is on the apex dome. They actually have a dome there. With the light coming out of it, which is just plasma from the depressurization point on that dome above us. And then red rum, which is also murder spelled backwards. This is probably an allusion to, I don't know, it could be all kinds of murders that have been orchestrated and set up and followed through with by your government. What? No. Yes. Bunch of murderers. Can't say that word too many times, but that's what this says backwards, red rum. And it's from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Okay? Okay, good. And then after that, it changes and it says snow guard, which is dragons, right? All right, now they show you the big moment. Oh my God, there he is. It's the astronaut. And you could see the Earth, the space ball Earth right behind him. And that's clearly like the sunlight, and he's coming on down. And as he's taking his steps, boom, this boom mic falls onto him, hits him in the head. This guy falls down, doesn't float or anything, and it's exposed that this is a set. And in the background, they have what looks to be like a fan. Hold on. Yeah, they got a fan back there, kind of like blowing this ball Earth so that it spins. They got anything hidden in the Earth there? I didn't check for that. Possibly. I can't tell, but that, I don't know. I don't want to get too speculative. But they're clearly showing you guys, right? The astronaut fell down. It's supposed to be a big comedic moment. You see in the visor of the astronaut, 1, stage lights, and 2, Stanley Kubrick, who is the director of the moon landing, right? A lot of people actually believe Stanley Kubrick directed the TV show called The Moon Landing. It says right here, production, moon landing, director, Imagine Dragons, basically. But it's Stanley Kubrick. So we zoom out. Hold on, let me jump back in here. Boom. All right. We zoom out and we see the set. There's a guy holding up the microphone. There's some extra actors in the background. Stanley Kubrick comes out. He's checking it out. They're like, cut, cut, cut. This has to be perfect, everyone. This is for the whole world, okay? And then they bust out the flag. They get back up and they're trying to keep on going or whatever. I feel like there's something written in the clouds on this Earth. I want to check that out real quick. Let me just see it real quick. Does it say lies? That kind of looks like L-I-E-S, maybe? I don't know. I might be reading into that, but like my intuition's telling me there's something there, but I can't say for sure. Anyways, so they get out this flag, right? And they're going to do the whole flag moment, just like they did historically speaking. And they plant that flag into the moon dust or whatever, and the flag's waving around, and all the people are watching this on their television, and then they fade to black and white or sepia tone or whatever. And now, this is interesting, the word monolith has been removed from the television. It's no longer there. Remember, they had put the word monolith at the bottom? But now, if we zoom in far enough, it's gone. Disappeared. Vanished. Possibly could be related to the actual Garden of Eden vanishing. Could be just hiding things from all of you, just hiding things from us. And it also could be like a possible shout out to like Mandela effects and stuff like that. I'm not sure. But next up, we go back to the people. They're just going nuts. Oh, we landed on the moon. Yes. Yes. Good job, us. We did that. We all did that. You did that. I did that. They didn't do shit. Nothing. None of you did. Okay? Stop claiming the moon landing like it's your favorite sports team. We won the Super Bowl. No, you didn't. Your team won the Super Bowl. NASA is a government agency. Let's not forget that as well. Okay? So the same thing, the same concept as the FBI, same concept as the CIA and all the 3-letter agencies. NASA just has an extra letter. It's the government, the same government that robs you, the same government that taxes you, which is not even robbery because you don't have the money to even give back to them or for them to take. They just lie about your wages. The same government that tests chemicals on you without your permission. Yeah. The same government that's sneaky and underhanded and murderous and terrible is the same one that they're all applauding. They have tricked all of you into thinking that NASA is not a part of the government, and it's just a bunch of scientists, independent scientists who all banded together to go explore the cosmos like Star Trek on our behalf. So, we got everybody celebrating, going nuts. Oh my God, they did it. Oh, we landed on the moon. Kubrick's not happy. He feels like it was a terrible presentation. The astronauts screwed it up. They didn't say the correct lines. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. In his eyes, the perfectionist who sees it all and knows it all, he's not happy. He's like, this sucks. I don't know how anybody could even buy this garbage. But they did. They bought it. Here's Nixon. He's throwing up the peace signs, flanked by the freaking Men in Black or whatever. Let's see if we could see that clacker. I don't know if we could see that. It's upside down. And then the camera, it says the camera, SK, upside down, Stanley Kubrick, right? Then they have some guys sitting in this moon car and like another guy's pushing it, you know. They're just going above and beyond to really show you that the moon landing was absolutely 100% staged and faked. And then this is what the people down on Earth saw, the whole car moving on its own or whatever up there. They brought a car with them the first time that they go to the moon, or first 3 times, whatever, same crap, right? There's a car up there. Okay. A moon car. They hit like a certain bump. They should just fly off into space or whatever. They don't. Oh, it's way down or whatever. The people, the true red-blooded Americans are just so proud of their country, their nation, the accomplishments, all the money that they have stolen from you. They're now happy about that. You know, they don't care about the potholes not being fixed or whatever they lie to you and say they need your money for, which is themselves to just short you and change you. Or shortchange you. They're so happy. They forgot all about it. They forgot all about all their problems because we went to the moon. And then all of the band members, they're like playing golf. They all swing their golf clubs at the same time. And Kubrick's like, what are you doing? This was not scripted. You guys are playing around. This is supposed to be a scientific, serious moment. Kubrick's worried, man. He's like, you guys are going off of the script. And then they start sword fighting, and one guy's like riding a horse. One guy's pretending to play the guitar with his golf clubs and stuff. Here, I'll jump out of the way so you can see the full picture. There they are sword fighting in the background, right? Kubrick's like watching it all fall apart. And then they show you, this is the set. This is just a little square they're going to call that the moon. They just have a dark background, and that's going to be space. And the camera people are like right there. Everyone's dancing, celebrating. The president is super excited. He's a puppet. Okay, he doesn't know crap. So he's just as much of an idiot as anybody else. And the band members, they take down their visors because they can obviously breathe. Everything's fine. This guy's guitar not only has a picture of an eagle on it, but it also has the letter G. So the whole Illuminati G, right? Just as we talked about in our last presentation. So all these fans start rushing the building, right? And they come in, and these are all of the like hippie crowd, right? The enlightened crowd, if you will. The bohemian free thinkers, or whatever you want to call them, okay? They see right through it. They know it's their favorite band, Imagine Dragons. They're all coming in, and they just are like, screw it, let's put on a performance. And so they start playing to the audience. Right? And they're singing to the audience. Everyone comes in. The lights are all multicolored. Kubrick's like, what the fudge is going on? All these people are like waving flags and they're enjoying this concert. And then they show you this capsule on the moon where the astronauts were allegedly inside of this capsule, this grenade looking deal. And it just shoots up and just floats away. And I guess aims it back at Earth or whatever. Meanwhile, the cameraman is like still on the moon. And they're like, oh, no, it was a remote control. And they timed it perfectly or whatever. Lots of problems with the moon landing story. I can't believe there's people that still believe that. I just can't. It's hard for me to believe. I mean, I do know that there's people that still believe in the whole moon landing garbage. And it speaks volumes to the current, to the mentality, to the modern mentality of humans, how easy humans are to program, how easy humans are to deceive and to trick. And they just tell you like a Jedi mind trick what you're seeing, and you see it. It's amazing. Once you have stepped out of that delusion and you're able to start seeing things for what they are, asking questions and stuff like that, it's hard to believe anyone else can't see it. Anyways, they're all celebrating the moon landing. They're all watching it on TV. There's confetti everywhere. People don't even care if it was a hoax or not now. The president's in on it. They're all doing a line dance. Kubrick's like not having it. He's pretty depressed in the middle. The astronauts are crowd surfing. And then this is the very end of the video, because I'm copying this from YouTube. So they have like recommendations and stuff. But they show you the ball Earth, which is just like a blow up ball that they used as a prop. And then they kick it as hard as they can. Bam! And he boots that ball Earth off of the screen. Almost to say F you, ball Earth. Round, spinning, wobbling, tilting, flying through nothingness. Somebody, the very first comment on this in the chat on this live stream was somebody who did they say? Jay is not a domed earther. It's Loken at stuff. Says Jay is not a domed earther. Jay believes in a spinning ball planet, also spinning around a sun, also spiraling through space. And then asks me, what's my take on the Nos Confunden universe? Clearly you don't watch my channel often. I'm not mad, okay? You don't need to type in all caps when you're the very first person in the chat, just so you know. It's kind of redundant and a moot point. It doesn't really matter, because, you know, everyone sees your comment. But what else was I going to say? I'm not slamming on you or nothing, but I also, you know, I want other people to watch this, not to follow suit. Take your time before you leave comments, okay? Let some things marinate. Maybe go watch a couple more videos, you know? Maybe you might see things differently. Because I definitely have hundreds of videos talking about the dome above the world. I definitely had lots of videos all about flat earth when I first started my YouTube channel, and I was, you know, promoting alternative cosmology and stuff. But then asking me about the Nos Confunden map, I have a whole video, just so you know. If you're interested in my take on that, go to my Ancient Oblivion playlist. Scroll down, look for one that says something like Infinite Earths or Terra Infinita or something like that. Okay, you'll see it. And I specifically talk about the Nos Confunden map, you know, in that video. So anyways, thank you guys all for participating. I love you. Shout out to, hold on, let me see who the top fans were in today's video. Raydam 1980 was number 1 today. Amber Hill was number 2. Kathy Lynn Reed was number 3. Followed by, I'll do the top 5. Kat Van Du and MK Rumpy, who I think was the second person in the chat today. So congratulations to everybody who made the top list, the top 50 list here in today's live stream. If you like Truth and Movies, this segment where I break down music videos, let me know. Last time I tried it, not a lot of people watched it, not a lot of people commented, and I just kind of figured people were not interested, so I stopped doing it. If you like it, please find some way to let me know. You can like the video with the thumbs up, you can leave a comment or whatever. You can make recommendations for music videos or bands or lyrics or whatever that you think I should look into that have deeper meaning. Either way, that will encourage me and inspire me to continue doing this particular segment. All right, cool. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.